Hi, my name is Jack Richards. I first want to thank you for the very special honor giving me this and this. I really appreciate it, and it means a great deal to me. I think perhaps this should go to my father, who through a lot of hard work and time and organization built the Little League ballpark in Roseville, and I know everyone knows about it. It still has my dad's name on it. I think I could spend probably all of my time talking about my former classmates at the high school. They were great friends. I loved Roseville. I loved Roseville High School. We had a great faculty, a great administration, and of course I had lifelong friends, of course many of whom are no longer with us. I got the chance to play for some really great coaches, and I'd like to mention them all. I don't know if there's enough time, but Rolf Moeller, obviously a legend in the coaching ranks, was someone very special. And there are many, many stories about him, the influence he had on the athletes and the students during my day was tremendous, and we all loved the man and respected him dearly. There were a lot of others. I don't know if I could mention them all. Barney Ransom was one. Fidel Vincente, our baseball coach. The Jack McGee, who coached basketball in my senior year. So they were all very important to me and left a lasting impression on me, and I learned a tremendous amount from them. I wanted to play all the sports if I could, but I came in as a little freshman admiring all of the upperclassmen who were, in my opinion, great athletes and guys who should become models for us. But I did play football and basketball and baseball and track, which I'll talk about, and even boxing. Yes, Roseville High School did have boxing in my day, and I was dumb enough to be one of the participants in the blindfold boxing competition, which was 4 minutes long, 7 of us blindfolded in the ring, swinging wildly with one thought in mind: be the last one standing at the end to win the very coveted gold boxing glove that you could wear around your neck. There were 6 other idiots with me in there crazily trying to stay on our feet, but when it was all over at 4 minutes, there were still 3 of us standing. And they made the announcement that with 3 people standing, we would probably need to draw straws to see who was going to get the golden boxing glove. Well, I and another guy were the losers. We didn't win, but when it was announced to the crowd, a person who was there, who owned, I think, the Chevrolet agency, Ernie Cadell, was also an All-American football player at Stanford, and then later on he played several years with the Detroit Lions. He heard about this, came back into the locker room and said, "Wait a minute, that's not fair." He said, I think these 2 guys still on their feet should have a golden glove too, so I want to buy them one. Well, that was my first hero. There were a lot of experiences that I'd kind of like to talk, and it's funny how what you remember maybe isn't so terribly important, but it's the things that stick in your mind. And I jotted down a few, and I'd like to run through some of them. Let's take track, for example. That was another bizarre experience for me. Our track coach, Barney Ransom, came to our baseball coach one day and said, I wonder if I could borrow Jack, me, to run in a race. We have no participants in the race. It's the 220 sprint, and we don't have anyone. Could he participate? And so our coach said, "Oh, sure. Well, you can borrow him for an hour or so, and he can come back to practice." Okay. So reluctantly, I agreed. But as we're walking over, I said to Coach Ransom, "What do I do?" He said, "Well, when the gun sounds, just run like hell." Okay. So I borrowed a pair of shorts, and I kept on my baseball spikes or cleats, spikes. And when the gun sounded, off I went. And about 3/4 of the race, I was 3 or 4 yards ahead of everybody else. And Coach Ransom was standing at the finish line, expecting me to win the race because of that lead I held. And he said, "Now float." And I didn't have any idea what the hell float meant, but I just kind of threw my hands in the air like I was in a fog or something, and relaxed, and the entire rest of the runners ran by me. Well, that was my one lesson in track. Didn't quite compare with boxing, but I did learn a lot of things from our coaches, and most of them were, I think, kind of amusing. We're going to learn a lot from our coaches, and they each expect different things from us. For example, in my junior year in basketball, we had to make 7 passes before we could shoot the ball. I know that's how our players learn to count. In my senior year, we got a new coach named Jack McGee, who was wild and crazy and fresh out of college, and unbelievably aggressive guy. I loved him. I thought he was great. His way of communicating to us, though, constantly yelling, was to grab us by the hair and pull us right up to his nose and make his point. Well, every guy on the team got a butch haircut so he couldn't grab us. But he found a way. He grabbed us by the ears and pulled us right up nose to nose to make his point. I also remember before our first game, he said, "Listen, this is a game of aggression. You are going to get out there and work your butt off." And he said, "I want fouling." He said, "If you don't foul out of this first game, you will not play for me." Well, I fouled out halfway through the first quarter, and I think I got a foul on the jump ball because I was coachable. I wanted to play, and that's what he said, so I did it. I graduated at 17, and I was the student body president, and I won the American Legion Boy of the Year award. And so you'd think, okay, well, he'll be out all night, I'll be out all night celebrating with my buddies. But no, I was in bed asleep at 10 o'clock because the next day I was given a workout with the Oakland Oaks in the Pacific Coast League. And for me, that was a great honor. As a matter of fact, when I got there, they were working out prior to the game that they were going to play later on, and I got to take infield with Billy Martin. Now, Billy Martin may not mean anything to you, but he later was the second baseman for the New York Yankees and finally their manager for a number of years. And also, I remember getting in the batting cage and taking a few swings and being followed by Mel Ott. That name may not mean a lot to you, but he hit 511 home runs in the major leagues and was, one of the all-time greats. He was the manager. Well, that was a special event for me. But when I got back, to my surprise, Ned Carbone, who was the manager of the Roseville Merchants, which was our semi-pro baseball team, asked me if I would like to play for them. And I was still 17 years of age and still kind of a wild-eyed kid, because the team was a group of hard-nosed, tobacco-chewing, rugged guys who wanted to win, and no matter how it was going to happen, they were going to do it. So I kind of had to make a little bit of adjustment. I even tried chewing tobacco. I chewed for a couple minutes, then threw up, and decided that wasn't for me. You might, I don't know if their names are even meaningful to anybody, but there was Pete Moon and Sammy Peaches and Gene Roderick and on and on and on, all hard-bitten, tough guys who called me Jackie. I was Jackie, just a kind of a kid who played with, but I could play, so they accepted me and actually kind of became great friends. They also took great delight in getting me drunk after a game on 2 beers and laughing. Another thing I remember was a couple of instances when the finger on this hand right here, I got a ball at the end. We were in a game, we were playing in Grass Valley or so, and this part of the finger was on top of the rest of the finger, and I looked down and I thought I was going to faint. Our manager, Ned Carbone, comes out, grabs it, pulls it back in place, pats me on the butt and said, "You're okay, kid." Another time, sitting in the dugout, I looked down and the guy next to me had this giant rip in his leg, blood flowing out. He wasn't even looking at it. He was watching the game. And I said, "Oh my God, look at your leg." And he said, "Oh yeah." So what he did was, believe it or not, he took his tobacco out and he put the tobacco in the wound. And then he got some black tape and taped around it, and just the game went on. He didn't, it was no big deal to him. And the one other thing, out of all the games, I don't remember the scores or anything, but I remember certain little things. And one thing that stands out, the competition between cities was unbelievable. We had enemies when it came to a baseball game, and our biggest enemy by far was Auburn. The city would put up a certain amount of money. They would challenge another city, Roseville versus Auburn, and the winner would take the winnings at the end of the game. So it was very, very important. The stands were usually full. And this one instance, I remember I hit a home run, which was rather unusual for me, but I did hit a home run. And as I rounded the bases and went by the fence on the way back to the dugout, I remember a bunch of guys sticking money through the fence to me, and I didn't know what to do. So I got back to the bench, and somebody said, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you take the money?" And I said, I didn't know the money was for me. I was not interested in playing, if I could, even at that age, professionally. I wanted to go to college, so I did choose San Jose State. And I was fortunate enough to go there the year when freshmen were eligible to play varsity ball. Prior to that time, freshmen could not play varsity ball, but when I arrived, I could. And so I played 4 years of varsity baseball for San Jose State and was even the captain of our team at the end. And so I remember I would come home during the summer, and by this time I was 18, and my first year home, I think, somehow I was the head of the recreation department. How, I don't know, but I was head of recreation. So I was in charge of what was going on in all the parks, and I remember that Little League was kind of in its infancy at that time, and so I thought, I should organize Little League for Roseville. So I managed to put together 4 teams. I coached one of them. And so after a short time, the parents and everyone else said, well, okay, since you organize it, why don't you be the president? I said, okay, I'll accept. And so as the president, I thought, well, I could make some rules. My first rule was that parents could not come to practice or games because it was for the kids and that would be too much pressure on them. Well, I lasted 2 days and I got deposed. I was removed from my presidency by the parents who said, are you kidding? Back at San Jose State, during my graduate year, I was working on my master's degree, simultaneously, by the way, with Bill Walsh. We were both writing our master's thesis. I was writing on the stride and hitting, and he was writing, I think, on the West Coast offense. Well, we were pretty good friends, and I got a chance to coach the freshman baseball team at San Jose State at the time. After I got my master's, I signed with the Boston Red Sox and played my first year with the San Jose Red Sox in the California League. Before I left, and I was only going to be in for 6 months because I was in the National Guard and I just had to serve my time at Fort Ord and Camp Roberts, going through the all the routine for people just entering the Army. I got a call from the principal at Abraham Lincoln High School in San Jose, who offered me a full-time position as an English teacher and the baseball and basketball coach at Lincoln High School. And so I thought about it for a while. I kind of wanted to try to continue my baseball career, but I decided maybe this was the smart thing to do, so I accepted. And they had a long-range substitute teacher for me for about the period of time. It was 6 months. I got out in, I think, March, and they had a long-range substitute teacher teaching my classes, and I then took over and stayed at Lincoln for, I think, 10 or 11 years. A very, very special place. Really great faculty, wonderful administration, and the students were amazing. We had a lot of athletic success. I eventually, after 3 or 4 years, I gave up the baseball job because and stayed with basketball because it was too much time commitment, and I thought I needed to do a better job. But my 1966 basketball team, for example, was undefeated and the #1 team in the state. So we did produce some really outstanding players. By the way, when I wanted to show you this, I forgot. This is my first Little League team in Roseville. There I am, and I think that's Baron Reed. I have my hand around now. Baron Reed was, I think, a teacher later on at Roseville High School, and also I think was the future mayor. Also one of my teammates in football, basketball, and baseball at Roseville High School was a mayor for like 17 years. So Roseville was really a very, very special place, and I really enjoyed everyone that I met. I could ramble on, I think, forever, but I would like to say to everyone that since Roseville and everyone I knew there have a very special place in my heart, I'd like to thank them for giving me this honor, which I truly appreciate, and I wish you and the future of Roseville High School sports a lot of luck, and thank you.